Welcome to the long free ride.
Welcome back to the Long Free Ride. In this wrap-up episode, we'll take a look at our 5,500 mile trip to the top of Norway and back. We'll have a look at what we liked and what we didn't like about the trip. We'll talk about charging, stats, navigation, all those good sorts of things.
If you've been with us and watched all 18 previous episodes, thank you so much. It really means a lot. And if you're new here, please go and check out some of those for our trip highlights.
Let's start with the one that everyone always worries about, and that's charging.
The elephant in the room.
The elephant in the room. For our road trip, we used the Tesla network. It was an obvious choice for us. We drive a Tesla car, and we're fortunate enough that when we bought that, it came with free supercharging, and free supercharging for life. So there's no real incentive for us to charge anywhere else than Tesla chargers. But they are some of the most prolific across Europe, and they are some of the most reliable. So again, why would you not? And nowadays, many of them are open to all EVs that have got a CCS2 adapter. So anybody can charge there.
I have to say the availability was really good. So we only queued to charge twice. I know there's loads of hype in the media and social media that people are queuing to charge and it's not like getting petrol. But, you know, we just didn't see that as a problem. And we never came across a broken charger.
No, we found one with a cover missing, but we didn't plug into it, so we can't tell you whether it's broken or not. But other than that, everything worked when we plugged it in.
Yeah, and the locations were generally good, so they had some facilities as well. So we've shown some footage of some remote locations, but generally we could also get a coffee, go to the toilet, buy some lunch, you know.
Yeah, and that is a bit unlike some of the locations we've been to in the UK. There's one here near where we are at Portsmouth, and it's just on the middle of an industrial estate, and all the buildings have got signs up saying that you're not allowed in there. So if you are desperate for a wee, then you're out of luck. You got out of luck, or you can go find some bushes. That's about it.
Yeah. So in total, we did a 30-day tour, and we drove for 22 days out of that. On average, we were charging for an hour and a quarter.
And of that hour and a quarter, we spent a lot of it either in a restaurant or cafe, or having a wander about, having a look at the scenery. In my case, doing some filming. I did try to film all of the superchargers to prove that we weren't sitting there waiting and queuing and all this sort of stuff. But would this be convenient if you had children with you? Now, the answer probably is no. We all know kids aren't very adaptive. They don't like being in a car for too long, although nowadays with tablets and all that sort of stuff, I suppose you can leave them there all day. Who knows? But who would go on a road trip with a young family, or they don't want to do that sort of thing? It's not their sort of trip.
So our trip was to the top of Norway, and Scandinavia has a high amount of EV car users already. So it's perhaps not surprising that we found the availability of Tesla chargers to be plentiful.
Yeah, in Norway, I think their EV sales are 80% of all new cars are EVs. In Sweden, I think it's more like 65, 70. And again, all these people will tell you EVs don't work in cold conditions. Well, the Scandinavians and the Norwegians seem to find out a way of doing it.
Yeah, and they've invested in the infrastructure. We clearly saw it.
Yeah, they have a lot more charging at retail parks, And even at little restaurants, a little restaurant will have put a number of chargers in their parking area. And I think that's what will come in the UK, but it just isn't there yet. If you've never even seen what charging an EV looks like, then we did produce a video to talk about our charging strategy for this trip. You'll find details in the video description below.
So we didn't have any fuel costs whatsoever, but if we had to pay to charge at a Tesla supercharger, how much would it have cost us?
That's a little bit of a tricky question for me to answer, because when I look at our stats that you can download using the Tesla app, it obviously shows no cost. And the problem there is that I don't then know what the VAT would have been in different countries. So I've assumed that the normal base rate in that country is what you would have to pay if you were charging. But I don't know if that's true, because I think some places you pay a lower rate of VAT. But assuming it was their standard rates of VAT, it looks like we would have paid £714 to have completed that trip. Now, the trip was 5,553 miles, and working it out with the sort of petrol costs at the moment, if you were doing that in a petrol car that could achieve 50 miles to the gallon, that would cost you £788. So slightly cheaper than petrol, and that's of course if you can achieve 50 miles to the gallon. That's quite a high miles per gallon figure.
Particularly going up mountain roads.
Yes, for most most petrol or diesel cars.
Yeah.
But yeah, they're the figures. We would have paid 714 or somewhere in that area, and petrol. Well, you know yourself what your car will do to the gallon. So divide that into 5,553 and you'll get your answer.
Does that mean I can book a hotel away somewhere else for £700 because that's our saving?
No, it's not the way that works. It doesn't work that way.
Are you sure?
I'm sure.
That's what I heard.
We'll just put it towards our next trip. So yes, we do have another trip in the planning, and it is very much just in the planning at the moment. It will probably be in sort of springtime 2024, and this time we're going to head south. It'll be interesting to see if we find the same level of charger availability, frequency, all those sorts of things as we head into other parts of Europe that may not be as forward-thinking or as advanced than the Scandinavian countries.
Yeah, but they've all got that target, haven't they, of 2035? So they should all be making steps to achieve that.
Yeah, they've all got the target, just as we've got the target. It doesn't mean that any of them are taking any steps, though, does it?
But you'd like to think.
Yeah, but they might be rather than governments taking steps, they might be hoping that the private sector is going to do it, and the private sector may not be convinced yet. Who knows? Okay.
Well, we'll also have to see if we see lots of Teslas, because we certainly did when we were in Sweden and Norway.
Well, yeah. But I think going across Germany. No, actually, I think Teslas are selling reasonably well in Germany, and that's where the factory is in Europe.
Yeah.
So. Yeah. Well, we'll find out.
Okay. So I'm going to put you on the spot.
Oh dear.
Favourite drive, worst drive?
Favourite drive. I think my favourite drive was from the Ice Hotel to Skibotn. So when we left Sweden and went into Norway. Now, it was one of the more nerve-wracking drives because we were at the limit of our car's range, partly because our navigation tools hadn't identified that there was actually a supercharger en route, but it was so new that it wasn't on the maps as yet. But we'll come back to that later.
Yeah, but also that's the drive you got stopped by the police.
That is the drive we got stopped by the police as well. Yes, just for a chat. Just for a chat.
Yeah.
But what happened was we'd been going through just so many miles of just fir trees and forests and nothing that felt like real hills. And suddenly, as we reached the sort of top of Sweden and into Finland and then into Norway, everything changed and the scenery just came alive. And so yeah, that was probably my favourite. The worst drive I would have thought was from the prison in Horn to Copenhagen, because there were just so many delays and it was just, the traffic was dire.
Yeah, I mean that was certainly our longest day in the car.
It was a long day, and it didn't then get helped by the fact that the traffic was absolutely awful.
Yeah, and I mean we'd left Horn at 6:30 in the morning. We were in the car 17 hours that day. That was a long haul. Very glad we didn't have kids with us.
Yeah, proper road trip day.
Yeah. But
what about yourself?
Yeah, worst day for me, I think, worst drive would have been leaving Nordkapp at gone midnight and getting back to Honnesvag because it was so foggy. The road had real drop-offs on those edges. There were sharp corners.
It was fun, wasn't it?
No, it was not fun.
It was.
No.
It was exciting.
No. And yes, it was light because we'd seen the midnight sun, but it was foggy, so you actually couldn't see much at all. And corners would come up on you really quite quickly and edges. So.
Well, they had safety barriers.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Added to the excitement.
Yeah. They only let you up that road in the winter months in a convoy behind a snowplough, actually.
Yeah, they have a snowplough at the front and they have a following vehicle at the back.
A rescue vehicle.
A rescue to make sure that everybody makes it. They don't disappear off the road.
Yeah. So I was glad we were there in the summer, put it that way.
It would have been fun to be there in the winter. Snow tyres on.
Oh.
Yeah, bit of danger.
No, we've got other places to go, other things to see. We're not going back this winter.
Okay.
So it's been a scenic tour. What's your favourite view?
My favourite view, much to your annoyance, was having just left and spent 2 minutes on the road coming away from the top of the Trolls Road. We just drove around the back there and there was a spectacular view of a lake and a classic U-shaped glacial valley that was being lit in the back, and I took some pictures and got the drone up. So that was definitely my favourite.
Yeah, so we were stopped there for at least another half an hour.
It was very good filming opportunities.
Yeah. And we still had a way to go to get to...
We were documenting it for our lovely viewers.
Right.
Yes, okay. I know that we arrived late and we couldn't get any food easily and things like that. But yes, we got some fantastic views to look back on. We'll forget not getting the meal, but we'll look at those views forever.
Right. Okay.
Is my opinion.
Okay. You know that whole thing about not travelling with kids because they need eating?
Constant feeding, yeah.
Anyway, yes, okay. Well, mine, I think, was the night when we had arrived at the ice hotel in Sweden and we walked up to the pub just up the road and were on the river Torn, I think it is.
Yeah. Looks more like a lake, but it is a river. Yeah.
It is a river, yeah. And it was just so peaceful and the rolling hillside, and it was just beautiful. Really, really good. And it was a great meal there too, so thoroughly recommend it.
It was so good I left my backpack there, wasn't I?
Yes.
With all the money in and passports and yeah.
Well, your passport, not mine. Yeah. But yeah.
They gave it back to us.
Yeah, and the camera. Yeah. But that was a good meal.
No, I had the camera.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, I carried the camera and forgot the backpack. There we go.
Anyway.
Was that really though? Because that wasn't. It wasn't. You had Bergen at the top of the funicular there. That was fairly spectacular.
As a view, yeah.
Yeah.
The weather wasn't great though.
No, Tromsø that was. Bergen was lovely.
Yeah.
You got them all mixed up already, haven't you? All you can remember is going to the blinking fish restaurant.
Yeah, there is something about that. Cornelius was a very good meal as well.
Yeah, wasn't the best meal from my best meal was was when we stayed at the Mountain Lodge.
Oh, near Alta.
Near Alta, I really enjoyed that meal. That was probably. It wasn't cheap, but then again, nor was Cornelius. But
no. Yeah.
That was probably my favourite.
Yeah.
And although it did it have any fish? I can't remember if it had any fish in it, but it just seemed really authentically Norwegian.
Mm. Yeah, no, that was lovely, and we were sort of staying right on a ski slope. So if we'd been there in the winter, you wouldn't have had to go far to be on the piste.
On the piste, no.
Yes, yeah. No, that was a good meal. Cornelius, it's to me still will always be the favourite.
I thought your favourite was the chocolate biscuit in
Stockholm.
In Stockholm.
Yeah,
where
that
you,
was a meal.
you hijacked a blinking video in order to show people a biscuit.
Yeah, the good news is I have found the recipe and I will try and make those at home.
Looking forward to that, darling. Looking forward to that.
Maybe on a day when you're out, so that I can create chocolate carnage in the kitchen.
Moving on.
Okay. So what do you think we learnt on the trip?
I think we learned a lot of things. I think one of the things we learned, not that we really had a lot of choice, was that we needed to give ourselves more time. Feasibly, we could do the trip in 30 days, but I used the word chore, I think, at one point during the trip, because, literally it was get up, get going, get filming, complete the day, fall into bed, get up, get filming, and it just...
For me, it was less about that and more about wanting to be able to experience things. So I have a slight regret we didn't, for example, have time to go into some of the museums we saw en route and learn more about Nordic culture or the Nobel Prize Museum in Stockholm.
You know how gutted I was to miss the ABBA Museum? Gutted.
There are other experiences though, but yes, as an example, yes, okay.
So I think next time, in the past when we've discussed this, we have talked about the fact that we would do 1 day's driving, 1 day's filming, and then 1 day putting together, not necessarily a complete video, but at least getting some of the work done towards producing a video. And then we'd start the whole process again. That would make 6 days. And then we would take 1 day where we either carried on with that process or we took the day to ourselves, so that it gave us more time to actually enjoy what we were doing. We just didn't have the time to do it this time. We had 30 days because of other commitments, and that's what we had to fit it in. And we did it, But I would have to say again, having got back with terabytes virtually it was terabytes of footage, a lot of which you'll never see, because, we had the car cam on the top of the car some days all day recording, and not a lot of that was always worth using. But then you've got to wade through all of that, and by then you've forgotten some of the things that happened. At some point, I had a reindeer walk out in front of me and had to do a proper emergency stop. I thought I got it on film. I spent hours searching for it, couldn't find it. So, those sorts of things, when you're more in the moment, when it's only been a day or two since that happened, you're much more likely to find those things and be more in the moment when you make the video. So I think that's...
But I think that's partly because, we were very underconfident about doing any of this videoing malarkey.
Well, I wouldn't say underconfident. We just knew that we had a lot to learn. And we still do.
Yeah, so producing videos on the road will be a new experience for sure.
and it's going to cost a bit because we have to buy a new laptop and all that sort of stuff. But anyway, yeah. You desperately want to get rid of the squeak in the car, don't you?
I do. Somewhere between our seats and the centre console, the leather seems to, I don't know, have friction physic things go wrong, and it creates a very annoying noise for hours.
Well, it's every time you go over a bump or anything, isn't it? I think it's the bolsters near the centre console that's got a leather coating on it. The seats are leather. The two things rub together and squeak. Yeah. So I think what I need is some of these sort of stick-on velvet pads or something, I think, to try and make that not happen.
No idea. But
either that or to lose some weight. That's probably the answer. That's the true answer, probably. In my case, obviously, darling. Your case, not at all.
Well, that brings us on to the travel diet, actually, because that is something we learned.
Yes.
That it was actually quite hard to eat healthily, because you can't sort of store food in the car and keep things like yogurts cold or
well, not easily, no.
Sandwiches not easily. So,
and this does come back to part of what is the difference between travelling in an electric car and travelling in a petrol car. In a petrol car, it takes you 5 minutes to fuel up, so you can look at the restaurant in the petrol station and go, I don't fancy that, and go off and find yourself another little place in town, knowing that you can go in there, have your meal, come straight back out, get on the road. The trouble with travelling with an electric vehicle is if when you get to the place that you're charging, all you've got is a burger van, then unless you want to take the time that it's going to take to charge whilst you have your burger, and not have a burger and sit in the car twiddling thumbs or sending emails or doing whatever, watching superb YouTube videos, you then would have to stop and take even more time, and that is one of the differences. But I think this is as electric cars become more the norm. Restaurants will be starting to put in these sort of chargers and stuff like that, so that when you go there, you can put your car on charge while you have your meal. And it's either something they do to incentivise people to go there, or they charge you for it, or whatever. But it will become more the norm rather than the exception.
Meaning that we wouldn't have to use sort of truck stop services to charge the car, because truck stop services traditionally seem to have only unhealthy options, really.
Yeah.
And we can't really, we couldn't or chose not to transport other stuff with us for risk of...
The Scandinavians do seem to like sausage in a bun, don't they? Or sausage wrapped in bacon with like a cheesy sauce over it in a bun.
Yeah, and the Belgians like their chips a lot.
Yeah. So none of it... and of course there was always a good selection of pastries.
Yeah, which I tried to avoid.
I struggled sometimes. So often I'd be having coffee and a cake and something like that. So, you're sitting around in the car, you're not doing... Well,
I mean, we did...
In the days we were in the cities, we did a lot of walking about and a lot of exercise. But
and when we were self-catering, we were eating salads and other stuff. That was all right. But we did eat fruit, Mum, I promise.
Mum, see what she said.
Yeah. But to be fair, I mean, you came back from the trip 5 pounds lighter.
I came back lighter, yeah.
And I put on 2, which is just not fair, and goes to show that at home I do more, running around anyway, and it was unusual for you to be doing those long city tour walking days, that sort of stuff. So you were able to
what can I say?
eat badly and lose 5 pounds.
I clearly moderated myself. Yeah. Anyway, you wanted to talk about duvets, didn't you?
Oh, yes. Scandinavians, brilliant system. I've been told about it before. Thank you, Jill. But until I experienced it, I didn't really understand what a good invention this is. So we were staying in places in a double or a king bed, and they would have 2 single duvets, which first I thought was really weird. Works out perfectly, though, because... if he's wriggling about or whatever, it doesn't affect me as much because I don't feel the motion from the duvet being tucked away.
I think the thing that you would prefer more is that you can have a 55 tog duvet on and I can have a 15 tog duvet on.
Yes, okay.
And then that way
Yeah.
well, you'd still be cold, wouldn't you? Let's face it.
Or hot.
Or hot, one or the other, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, no, but that was brilliant. So I might be investing in new bedding at some point.
Yeah, yeah. The accommodation we used on the trip, some of it was quite quirky, as you might have seen. We do regret having stayed in a prison cell, and the person who took our booking for the prison cell isn't happy with us because apparently Michelle left a review that said it was rather small, and his point was, yes, it was a prison cell. So that was quite amusing. And some of it was really nice, like the mountain lodge.
Yes.
But we did a lot of what you might want to call just the regular travel lodge type places, didn't we? Well, no, they weren't that bad. Some of them were better than others.
Yeah.
Some of them were better than others. We're not going to go through all the brands because we don't think that's particularly fair. What I would say is it would appear in the Scandinavian countries, a lot of the hotels seem to compete around who has the best breakfast. And a lot of them did have very good breakfasts.
Yeah, I mean, I was eating smoked salmon.
Even if the rooms were somewhat mediocre.
Yeah. No, I was eating smoked salmon pretty much every day. So.
Yeah, and some of the hotels particularly near the top of Norway, some of the hotels we went into were very much the sort of place where people would only stay really one night. So they would be coming there to go whale watching or to see the midnight sun or the aurora or something like that. And they were literally just going to be there for one night, and then they were going to be back on their coach and on their tour, and off they went again. In some places we were lucky enough to arrive just before the coaches. Others we got there just after the coaches, and that was a bit more of a struggle to get your luggage upstairs because there were 75 Germans who were just like us, just trying to get their bags upstairs, and
And I think also there was a real difference between trying to get in-town accommodation with parking, and because we hadn't really planned the trip in advance, some of that was really booked up. So that was quite tricky.
Yeah, well, we were booking only a couple of days in advance, really, weren't they? Because that was where we were. We didn't book anything before we left, other than the first 2 nights.
Yeah.
But I also think that even on the next tour, you can't prescribe the tour too much, because there are opportunities that happen. You might get to a town and find out the next day there's a fiesta going on that you knew nothing about, and then you want to stay another night there. And
but if you planned it, you would know there was a fiesta.
Yeah, I'm not sure you always would, though. I'm not sure you always would.
This is where we're very different.
Yeah, well, it depends on how much planning you want to do, doesn't it? Mm-hmm. Yes, we brought you a bunch of stats during the tour, some of which we had to work out ourselves because the stats package, which was from an application called TESLab, was unable to produce them. And it's not TESLab's fault, before anybody starts thinking, oh, TESLab's not any good. It's been amazing. It's a great little thing.
Yeah.
But the problem is, when you're going through Europe, and I'm going to say in my Tesla, because that may not be the same with all of them, as you go from country to country, where the data has to reconnect so that it can display the maps and the traffic and all of that sort of thing, it doesn't seem to reconnect until you either switch the car on and off or reset it while driving, which you can do. It sounds a bit weird, but you can press 2 of the buttons on the steering wheel and the computer will reboot. The car drives absolutely fine. And then it will pick up data from Belgium rather than France. However, the session the stats session that you had running on your phone, all of a sudden will lose contact with the car when you do the reboot, and it in effect then loses that particular leg of the trip. So you end up losing certainly sometimes can be quite large legs of the trip, because you might be driving literally from France through Belgium, part of Holland and into Germany, all in one leg, and you will have to reset the car 4 times or 3 times in order to make sure that you've got data connectivity and your maps are being updated. So that's, but that's not the fault of anything. That's just the way that data works in Europe.
But we know we did the 8,935 kilometres.
Oh yeah, because the car's recording all of that. Yeah.
5,552 miles.
Yeah.
We charged 52 times. You know, we know all of that.
All of that, yeah.
Yeah.
It's just that sometimes when you would look at the end mileage of one leg and the beginning mileage of the other, and they wouldn't be the same, and you'd think, that's a bit weird because the car didn't go anywhere overnight. So you would know there that you'd dropped some stats. Yeah. But that was that. We used a better route planner to plan our routes, and that's really great because you can do it on a laptop or on a tablet whilst you're in the hotel and whatever. What would be really great, and again, it's not going to happen with my car because mine's an old one, and although it does get some updates, the sat nav in it, I've always thought has been pretty basic. I think it's very good for you. Say, I want to go to this address, and it will take you there by the quickest route. You could say, I want to go all the way to the top of Norway, and it would take you by what it considered the quickest route, but that might not be the route you want to go. And there is no way on mine of putting in waypoints. Also, would you really want to sit in the car for maybe a couple of hours trying to program all of this trip in? Well, no, you wouldn't. You're much better off being in a external app and then, if possible, transferring it to the car. And a better route planner software does have that feature. I've tried using it in my car, and I think because the sat-nav software in my car doesn't allow for waypoints, it doesn't seem to work particularly well. It just transfers it leg by leg, and you might as well do that yourself as you're driving along. So, but then again, you know, all the cars I've had previously, you've never really been able to build a whole road trip in it. Most of the GPSs I've had for motorcycles, where again you take the GPS off and you can bring it inside and connect it to your computer, come with a particular piece of software that you can program a whole road trip on. But for some reason, cars don't seem to offer that same functionality. That would be useful, but I don't think it's going to happen.
No, but a better route planner was good enough anyway.
It was good. It was good, but as was demonstrated, it's as good as its data.
Yeah.
So if you've got a brand new supercharger that's opened up in Finland, but hasn't yet been put on both the Tesla network and therefore the better route planner network, you just go sailing past it, going, wait a minute, that wasn't on the map. Yeah. We could have charged there, and you could have had your air conditioning on all morning.
Yeah, that's another point actually.
Well, that was the longest day, wasn't it? That was where we were living on the limit. That's why I quite liked it.
Yes.
There we go.
But you living on the limit means I can't have the heated seat on, or the aircon, or the radio, or...
I think we had the radio on, didn't we? Well, anyway.
Yeah.
We made it. Well, we made it with about 30%, so we didn't really need to do any of that in the first place.
No.
There we go.
Yeah. But generally, the planning en route was okay. We didn't have any major problems.
No, in general, when the car said it's going to take this much electricity to get you from here to here, that's pretty much what it took.
And in fact, we've run it much closer to the wire since coming back because of the confidence we've had.
Yeah.
If the car says you're going to get home with 6, we'd be like, yeah, okay, fine, carry on.
Yeah, we crept in with 1% a couple of nights ago, didn't we?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that was 2:00 in the morning.
Yeah, so we're possibly beginning to either trust that too much or it doesn't stop when you get to 0, but you don't have a lot below 0, let's put it that way.
No, but we also found there's going to be new Tesla chargers at Pease Pottage on the M23, but they're just not open yet.
Yes, they're all, there's 16 of them, so that's going to be good.
Yeah.
That'll be easy little top up for us as we head back to Brighton from London.
Yeah.
So didn't you have some fun stats you sent to your friends when we got back?
Yes, so we travelled through 9 different countries, dealt with 5 different currencies, took 4 wrong turnings. There were 3 swear words involved, but over 30 days, that's not
Not
too
bad.
bad.
That's not bad.
That's not too bad.
No major arguments.
No.
Major arguments.
No, no major arguments. You did get beeped at twice.
Yeah, well, I'm attractive. People beep at me.
It wasn't that, darling. I'm sorry. I think you're very attractive, but it really wasn't that. And you got pulled over by the police.
Did I get charged?
No.
There you go.
And you did get flashed by a speed camera.
I did. That was in Germany, wasn't it? It was Bremen. Yeah, we haven't had a ticket though, so I think I'm clean there.
Yep, okay. And thankfully, we didn't have any accidents. So the car is good to go.
Scraped up a wheel. That was about it.
Yeah. That was Tromsø.
Coming out of the car park in Tromsø.
Yeah. But we can definitely go on another road trip.
We can definitely go on another road trip. I think probably until you see us again, which will be when we start to head south. We might come out with a couple of specials because we've got a couple of little weekends away that we hopefully are going to video, and we'll let you know something about those. But you're going to need to make sure you've got that notification bell dinged if you want to pick up those sort of videos, because otherwise they might just get lost in your feed, as our frequency of launching videos is going to slow down somewhat. There will be a whole series of driving videos where we will be taking some of the more spectacular footage from the camera that we had on top of the car, not every day, but some days, and launching that as sort of just some sort of driving videos with some music behind it. But that's they're likely to be sort of 45 minutes long or that sort of thing. But think of them as a moving screensaver. But if you've ever fancied going and seeing Norway and wondering what it looks like on a nice sunny day, these videos will show you.
Yeah, and if you've got any questions, feel free to leave something in the comments.
Leave it in the comments.
Yeah, and we'll get back to you.
And we'll let you know. Thanks for watching.